Now today, you're part of a truly remarkable global phenomenon. Around the world, thousands of people have been gathering in meetings to experience the power of ideas. A surprising thing about today's meeting is that we here at TED have had almost nothing to do with it. We lent our name, our format, a few simple guidelines, and some of our content. But the really hard work to make today happen has been down to your local organizers, and we're truly in awe at the passion and dedication that they have shown to make something like this work. A thank you to you too for taking the time out to come and be part of this exciting conversation about our shared future. Now please write and tell us what you make of the event today. But for now, on with the show.
Hari Om everyone, we welcome you to the official TEDxYouth CIRS event for the year 2022. Before we begin our show, we'll first seek the blessings of the Lord with an invocation dance by our very own students.
Swagatam, 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 Ganapate swagatam, Ganapate हृदयाय जितेन्द्रियाय तेजस्विने स्वागतम् उदार हृदयाय जितेन्द्रियाय तेजस्विने स्वागतम् जनप्रियाय धीमते धैर्यप्रदाय स्वागतम् जनप्रियाय मनोहराय स्वागतम् प्रसन्नात्मने बहुभक्ताय मनोहराय स्वागतम् विनयशीलाय शान्ताय शान्तिप्रदाय स्वागतम् विनयशीलाय शान्ताय शान्तिप्रदाय स्वागतम् सरिगग पमगरिग पप तपमग पद स सनि द पद गरि स सरिगग पमगरिग पप तपमग पद स सनि द पद गरि स सरिग पमगरि स ग पद स रि रि गरि सनि धरि सनि द पमगरि गणपते 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 ॐ यथात्मने स्वागतम् ज्ञानमूर्तये स्वागतम् ॐ यथात्मने स्वागतम् ज्ञानमूर्तये स्वागतम् ॐ गुरवे स्वागतम् ॐ गुरवे स्वागतम् ॐ गुरवे स्वागतम्.
Thank you all for that mesmerizing performance. The world is on a constant spree to try and make tomorrow better than today, safer than today, and overall a utopia for everyone to experience. But to achieve that utopian tomorrow, it is vital to create a compassionate and forward-thinking society, which would encompass every idea worth communicating, every opinion worth spreading, and every voice worth understanding. In a world where time has become our best friend and worst enemy, it takes wit and courage to understand exactly how to achieve a fruitful tomorrow, whilst making the best out of today. We at CIRS believe that stories are not just a means of communication, but also a learning experience from which many can gain inspiration. These success stories are built upon calculated steps, the determination to push through any obstacle, and utmost faith in oneself. Hence, we hope that our platform gives these stories the spotlight they deserve to unleash the limitless potential of tomorrow.
Good morning and warm greetings to everyone who is tuned into today's live stream. We, the IB second year, proudly present to you TEDxYouth at CIRS for the year 2022. We are truly grateful to TED for creating the program TEDx in the spirit of ideas worth spreading. We hope this event piques your interest and inspires you to take action. This brings us to this year's theme, Inviting Tomorrow. Here's a little snippet that hopefully shows all of you a better insight into our theme.
As stated previously, it takes a lot of courage for someone new to make progress in their respective industry. We are honored to present a panel of speakers who have not only conquered their fields, but have set new standards for the rest to follow. We hope you follow their guidance and their key words to make a change and invite tomorrow. So without further ado, please welcome these 7 brilliant personalities.
In the world where ideas are everything, Mr. Paul Kunnel is turning the way things are done upside down. A senior innovation consultant by profession, our first speaker is a driven individual who finds himself in the middle of intersection between technology, entertainment, and design every single day. His brilliance in gamification is responsible for the introduction of a number of gaming products focused on future of work and digital transformation. He's a creative individual with expertise in design thinking and business model innovation, having studied all over the world, notably at CIRS. His commitment to cultivating a culture that values diversity is effectively transforming the world into a better place. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Paul Kunnel.
From the early days of my childhood, I was always the mischievous one, the naughty kid. That's me on the left with my grandmother. Don't I already look like a naughty kid right there? The height of my childlike mischief came when I went inside my uncle's car, took the car keys, got in, and set about to figure out what would happen if I locked it while I was inside. So I left the keys inside the car, and then I got out. Cars definitely have a fail-safe against that, I figured. But guess what? In the early 2000s, that definitely wasn't true. And my relatives had to go through the house to find the spare key. Now, the catch was that this car was blocking everybody else from leaving. So in other words, I held my relatives at ransom. Note to self, cars should have a feature that prevents this from happening. Anyway, today I'm an innovation consultant that just loves building cool, impact-driven products. And I have a certain love for user experience and different perspectives. Speaking of which, a couple of weeks ago, I started growing curious about how mischief is perceived. I learned that it was twofold. Like most kids, I just wanted attention, but I was also a rebel. But on the other side of it, I was just curious all the time. If I saw a screw, I wanted to unscrew it. I saw a container, I wanted to poke holes in it. And if I ever heard you're not allowed to do it, boy oh boy did I want to do it. To me, mischief is creativity driven by curiosity. But here's the catch. The general perspective towards mischief is that it's part of being a kid. But more often than not, it's perceived as behavior that needs to be corrected. After all, if we allow kids to run wild all over the place, then how are they ever going to grow up to become a productive member of society? Right? Right? So, if mischief is creativity in disguise, then let's explore the types of creativity first. There are simply two types, positive and negative. Kids often are embedded with positive creativity. They're driven by their curiosity about the world they were born into. What happens if I put my hand in the flame? What happens if I push the big red button? What happens when I place toothpicks on the carpet to field test my family protection system? Spoiler alert, the last one is not particularly smart, as my mom's surgeon would testify to. But as much as creativity tends to be seen positively, creativity can also be negative. In order to get around rules, security frameworks, and structure, you need to be creative. You need to be able to step into the shoes of those who built these systems. You have to analyze, manipulate, and understand how to exploit in order to get what you want. So what differentiates positive and negative creativity? To me, there are two key factors and two key differences. One, the motivation behind it. And two, the kind of outcome you hope for. Let me take a shot at what you're thinking right now. So if kids are exhibiting positive creativity in their mischief, then why are we correcting them and scolding them to live within the lines? Here's why. The creativity that they exhibit is positive, but the result of that creativity can be less than positive. And as seasoned adults, we tend to base our judgment on the end result, not the process as much. And you know what the weird bit is? That's also one of my key learnings from my tenure in the field of innovation. Everyone tends to be so focused on the end result that most of us tend to fast track the process so that we can get to that end result as soon as possible. Now, I'm not claiming that the result isn't important. It definitely is. But the process is significantly more important, because the process of getting to any kind of result requires deep analysis, critical thinking, and so much thought. Our undying loyalty to the end result tends to betray us because it holds us back from seeing new solutions. It holds us back from running experiments, from learning, and at the end of it, it keeps us from being innovative. This is where kids excel. They aren't always driven by end goals. They're driven by their curiosity. Let's explore a simple example together, shall we? There exists an extremely complex machine in today's world, one that has a place in almost every household in the modern world. It's a machine that we use almost every day and has improved life significantly. I'm talking about the microwave. What is less known is that the microwave was an accidental discovery. Percy Spencer noticed that microwaves from an active radar set he was working on melted the chocolate bar he had in his pocket. So microwaves were discovered thanks to process-driven curiosity. So let's recap. Mischief is positive creativity in disguise. Good mischief is driven by curiosity and the motivation to explore and learn. Bad mischief is when creativity is motivated by malicious intent. What is the similarity between innovation and mischief? I personally see being innovative as holding the ability to step into the unknown in a structured manner that allows for a lot of learning. Innovation is fueled by curiosity, much like mischief. Mischief is often construed to be random acts, but they seldom are. Mischief requires structure, planning, timing, courage, above all else. I like to look at my work from behind a mischievous lens. It helps me see all the opportunity that I couldn't see when I was thinking conventionally. I encourage you to try it. If you have to find a solution to something, think about it as if it was going to be the greatest prank ever, and that they'll never see it coming, and you're sure to come upon a solution you would have never seen otherwise. So, mischief is a combination of curiousness and being rebellious. Innovation is a combination of being curious and being rebellious. So, who are the problem solvers? Simple. They're just curious rebels. The problem solvers of tomorrow are who we call the mischievous innovators of today. I strongly believe that mischief and curiosity is part of every one of us. It's just that we are rigorously taught to live within the lines and to not break the rules, which ultimately tends to make us risk-averse and rule-driven. After all, that's what a productive member of society looks like today. But tomorrow demands change, and change is driven by curiosity and the ability to think outside the box, to be a problem solver. It is slowly becoming our responsibility to nurture the generation of tomorrow. And my plea to you is to nurture mischief in the future generation. Guide their curious energy. Instead of scolding them, nurture their ability to think differently than the rest of the world, to think differently than you or me. After all, how can we expect someone to think outside the box when what we've been taught all our life is to live in the box? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kunil, for your insights on digital innovation. Our next speaker, Ms. C. Mangalam Senthil, believes that stories have the power to transform the world into a pretty unconventional one. Stories inspire us and catalyze us to create a better tomorrow. The emotional connection we experience can motivate us not only to generate the next big idea, but also to remodel our most vital systems. Maya Angelou rightly portrayed our next speaker's relationship with stories when she said, "There is no greater agony than bearing an untold story inside you." Cherishing the art of storytelling since the age of 5, her notion is that stories can not only educate and entertain young minds, but also heal, motivate, and provide solace. She also believes storytelling can do wonders for the mind, body, and soul. Her performance in NSN Storytelling and Chennai Storytelling Festival proves that she has the power to open you to a world of new ideas and possibilities for the future. Without further ado, please help me welcome Ms. C. Mangalam Senthil.
Namaste. The wedding hall was jam-packed. The little girl looked around, found an empty chair, and she went and she sat down there. And she tried to watch the proceedings of the wedding. After a while, she looked at the person sitting next to her and she smiled and she said, "Hello." The person responded back and they both started talking. The person started asking her about her parents, her school, her hobbies, what she liked to eat. And this little girl, with a lot of enthusiasm, answered all the questions the person was asking. And then after that she said, Uncle, you know what? You know what happened last week? What's it, dear? Oh, last week we all went to a temple. We meaning my father's side. My father's side is big, you see. My father had 11 brothers and sisters along with him. My grandparents had 12 children. And so we all went to a temple. Since we were so many, one van was not enough. We went by 2 vans to the temple. When we reached the temple, we saw that it was fully crowded over there. And then after that, when we were going around the temple, I got separated from my parents. Then I looked here and there. I could not find my parents. I could not see my relatives also. My uncles, my aunts, my annas, my akkas, my cousin brothers, my cousin sisters. I could not see anybody of them. I even went around the temple 3 times after that looking for them, but I could not find them. Then I did not know what to do. Then I remembered one story which my mother said. And so then I went to the police aid booth and I told the uncle there that I could not find my parents. And that uncle also announced my name and my parents' name in the mic. But nobody came. Then he told me to sit there. By now, my parents and relatives, I think they must have reached home. And then only they saw I was not there in van 1 and in van 2. And then my parents rushed back to the temple and I was sitting in the police aid booth with a banana in one hand and toffee in another hand. They saw me and they rushed towards me, both of them. They picked me, they kissed me, they hugged me, and then they brought me home. That is what happened last week. Oh my, said the people listening to her. They praised her for her courage and appreciated her for sharing the story along with them. And that little girl was me. And it was my maternal uncle's wedding. My parents were busy doing their part in my uncle's wedding. And so they were not around. And I was happily sharing my story with whoever was ready to listen. Now, after the wedding had got over, a couple of elderly people who had heard my story, they wanted to go and talk to my parents and express their concern about what had happened to me. So they went to my parents and they told all that they had told them. And my parents just stood flabbergasted. They listened with their eyes popping out and their mouths wide open. They were absolutely clueless of what they were telling them. Because neither had we gone to the temple, nor had I got lost anywhere. So yes, that was my first live storytelling to an unknown audience outside the comfort of my house. And it happened at my uncle's wedding when I was 3.5 years old. So that was the impact of all the stories that I got to hear. Stories continued being a part of my life. My mother used to feed food along with stories. She used to draw these eyes and expressions, and she used to take the end of her sari and put it around, and she used to make them the character, and she used to tell me the stories. Those finger stories were the best. And added to that, the perks of being in a joint family, I got to hear many personal narratives and stories from the others in the family. And I got to tell too. I used to share stories with my younger nephews and niece in the family. Time just flew. I graduated to become an engineer and I started doing a corporate job. Slowly, I shifted to training. And in every training session, I started my session with a story. Because the connect was more, and with each story, each session, it just went to reaffirm my belief that everyone everywhere is either telling stories or listening to stories all the time. And after that, there was no looking back. I went ahead and told a lot of stories in libraries, government schools, orphanages. And whenever I finished my stories, the children used to come and sit on my lap. They used to give me colorful wrappers or toffees, flowers, or sometimes even written notes to show their love and appreciation. I felt a deep sense of gratitude to be able to do something highly impactful as this. I found a meaning and purpose in my life. At around this time, people who wished me well, who meant well, they told me not to leave my high-paying corporate job to pursue storytelling as a career. But deep in my heart, I knew that this is what I wanted to do. And there was no dearth of inspiration for me because my mother and my father, they were my biggest motivators, and I drew a lot of inspiration from them. My father had also left a very high-paying job to pick up the reins of the family business just because his father had asked him to. No fancy titles, no daily adventures, no recognition, and sometimes even no acknowledgement. But all that just did not seem to bother my dad. The dedication and the discipline with which he went to work day after day, come what may, and the way he faced the challenges, big and small, left me in complete awe. He was my motivator, my strength. My mother too. She lost her mother at a very young age. And my mother went to the hostel and she continued her studies. To the hostel, the farmers in and around brought them food grains, vegetables and fruits. My mother taught them how to read and write. She learnt cooking on her own. And she was ever grateful for all that she got in life, and she was very, very giving and sharing. After she finished her studies, she got married into this big family of my father. And she learned everything and she managed everything beautifully well. So often it leads me to think, if my mother and father can, why not me? After all, I'm their daughter. I strongly believe that the stories that we hear and that we carry and that keep playing in our minds all the time greatly influence us and inspire us. These stories that play in our mind actually help us deal with situations better. When I am faced with a challenging situation, I get to understand things better and I am more well placed to deal with that. So these stories are something that I treasure, and in all these narratives, I found hope. A hope that I have the power and means to work towards an outcome that I desire for. And it is with this hope that I chose to do shadow puppetry at an international storytelling festival last year. So, what's the big deal, you may ask? Shadow puppetry? I had zero knowledge about that. And then I started reading about it. Thanks to a friend of mine, she gave me the contacts of a shadow puppeteer. And then I got in touch with the person and I actually started understanding the entire process. I came to know that the artist usually learned by watching, and it took nearly 30 years to master the thing. And here I was with no knowledge of shadow puppetry, and all I had was just 3 months for the event. Now, what am I supposed to do? So getting the screen, the frame, the lights, the distance, the placement of the camera, they were all just too much for me. Nothing seemed to be working out for me. I felt terrible. I felt frustrated. And one day, I just sat at my table with my head on my forehead, looking out at the ground outside. I decided that I would call the people and say that I am not doing shadow puppetry. Just as I was staring into the vast emptiness outside, something touched my shoulder and fell down. I looked, it was a book from the shelf nearby, and that book was my storytelling notebook, the one in which I made notes of stories. I picked up the book and I saw what story it was. It was one of my favorite stories, the one which I just loved to tell. It was the story of the Tham Luang Nan Nong cave incident which happened in Thailand in June 2018. Yes, I'm sure you all must have heard of that incident too, the one which kept the entire world in its grip. 12 young members of a football team along with their coach Ekapal, they went into this cave. They just went to celebrate their teammate's birthday. And as they were walking, nudging, cracking jokes, looking at the cave walls and having fun and going, they felt something under their feet. And they saw water entering the cave. Even as they saw the water entering the cave, the force with which the water came in was more. It was difficult for them to counter it and go outside the cave. So they started walking away from the water into the cave to avoid getting drowned. And they went fast. And they found a rocky ledge and they sat there. The 13 of them huddled together. The boys, they all started crying. Ekapal, their coach, hugged each of them and consoled each of them. He told them to do deep and slow breathing. He then told them to make a list of all the things they were grateful for in life. They discussed the strategies of the game in there. Ekapal also promised new football gear for the kids once they went out from the cave. Outside, the terrible storm and the incessant rains were making rescue operations very, very difficult. And inside, they all did not know even if it was day or night and how many days had passed. And after many, many days, 2 British divers found them and told about them to the world. And then the rescue operations happened, and after 17 days, the boys and the coach came out from the cave. The boys loved their coach and Ekapal loved them even more. He ensured that they all came out well and safe. Till the time they were in the cave, he took care of them so beautifully well and gave them so much hope. Had not Ekapal and the boys shown the world what perseverance was, what resilience was? This was a story that the world showed me that day. And I thought, here I was sitting in the comfort of my home with resources, with people to help me and support me, and I was going to give up. And that too, it was not a life and death situation. No. I got up, washed my face, tied my hair into a bun, and resumed work with a renewed energy. I started working on the issues in hand, one step at a time. And with the support of my husband and my daughter, I was able to pull off the shadow puppetry in great style. I was happy about that. When such inspiring stories come to us, don't you think they motivate us, they inspire us, and they drive us to perform? When we read the stories of Gandhiji or Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam or the Paramveer Chakra awardees or Nelson Mandela and many, many unsung heroes and heroines, they greatly inspire us. And what's more, when such stories of courage come from our family members, from our near and dear, from our friends, or from the people whom we know and we interact on a daily basis, the impact is much, much more. Ekapal and the boys in the cave ordeal my parents carving out their life, and my shadow puppets getting to see the light of the day. What was common in all of these? In all these cases, no one waited for the magic to happen. In fact, they sculpted the magic moment after moment. Each story is unique. No act is big or small. Each one has their own challenges. Sometimes it could be a life and death situation. Sometimes it could be the anxiousness of going into unknown territories or trying out something new. Or sometimes it was just doing good on a daily basis. In all these cases, it is very true that we might not get success in the first attempt itself. It is at those instances that the stories of hope that one carries within actually makes the present situation bearable and also pushes us to do so that we can achieve what we strive for. Yes, the essence of all that I have been saying is beautifully captured in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 6, verse 5. Uddharet atmanatmanam natmanam avasadhayet atmaiva hyatmano bandhuhu atmaiva ripuratmanah. It just means that everything is in the mind. The mind has the power to elevate our entire life by the stories and the thoughts within it. Our mind can be our friend or our enemy. So, what are the thoughts and stories inside your mind? I used gratitude and the stories coupled with my efforts to springboard to my future. What are the tools in your kitty that you would like to use to carve meaningful, beautiful future moments? My humble pranams and gratitude for listening to me. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Senthil, for opening our eyes to the power of stories and giving us a new perspective to lead a better life in these uncertain times. Courage, willpower, determination, faith, and a whole lot of self-confidence. That is what it takes to push through and turn dreams into reality. So, for a small break between the talks and some fun, we have Shreya from grade 12 singing the powerful song Evatan. This song beautifully portrays the unwavering dedication that we must have towards our country and motherland. Over to you, Shreya.
वतन वतन मेरे आबाद रहे तो वतन वतन मेरे आबाद रहे तो वतन वतन मेरे आबाद रहे तो मैं जहाँ रहूँ जहाँ में याद रहे तो मैं जहाँ रहूँ जहाँ में याद रहे तो वतन मेरे वतन वतन मेरे वतन तू ही मेरी मंजिल है पहचान तुझी से तू ही मेरी मंजिल है पहचान तुझी से पहुँचूं मैं जहाँ भी मेरी बुनियाद रहे तू पहुँचूं मैं जहाँ भी मेरी बुनियाद रहे तू है वतन वतन मेरे आबाद रहे तू मैं जहाँ रहूँ जहाँ में याद रहे तू है वतन मेरे वतन है वतन मेरे वतन
Thank you so much, Shreya, for that delightful rendition. One of the reasons we look up to our future is because we have hope that one day we will have more inclusivity. To give us more insight on what the future for our impaired citizens of the world looks like, we have the first visually challenged female to be awarded a PhD in South India. Born in Usilambatti, Madurai district, a place notorious for its high prevalence of female infanticide, she has been a trailblazer in inspiring and preparing visually impaired individuals for the future. One of her noteworthy contributions to the community was her award for Outstanding Visually Handicapped Woman, given by the National Association of the Blind. Her publication of An Introduction to Visual Impairment, a textbook for special education students, is proof that she continues to strive to make the world a better place for everyone. So let us welcome Dr. K. Dabai to share her insightful wisdom and knowledge with us.
Dear friends, if we have faith in God, help comes in time. Impossible becomes possible. This is the mystery of mysteries. I am extremely delighted to be with you today all, and I thank the organizers of this meeting for giving me this nice, wonderful, pleasant, memorable opportunity. Plutarch, the Greek historian, says, "Human mind is not a vessel to be filled, but a fire to be kindled." We are all happy today to have this opportunity to kindle our thoughts on the given theme, Inviting Tomorrow. The famous educationist John Dewey says, "Education is not only preparation for life, but life itself is education." Yes, it is absolutely true. Many historical personalities have proved that nothing is impossible to a willing heart. Dear friends, you are all at the end of school education, and when you go out of this campus, you will face a lot of challenges in the world, and you must have the courage and confidence to transform those challenges into opportunities. Today, we are going to discuss about the facts which will be helpful for you to face the world boldly and to build up a better future tomorrow. French Emperor Napoleon says, "Impossible is a fool's dictionary." Yes, nothing is impossible to a willing heart. So, we have to learn the first lesson that whatever things we do, we must do it with eagerness and enthusiasm. Then only we can get success in life. Thomas Alva Edison, who has been credited with thousands of inventions, says he tried for 10,000 times before inventing that electrical bulb. He did not give up till he reached the goal. So, don't give up till you reach the goal. Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, in one of his poems, said, "I was swimming in the sea. The waves came one after another. I was swimming and swimming to reach the destination. But one day, a powerful wave overpowered me and took me around and pulled me long and long. And when I was about to lose amidst the sea wave powers, one thought flashed towards me, and that was courage. The courage to reach the goal, the courage to defeat the powerful force, and the courage to succeed." Yes, that indomitable spirit that we need in our life to get success in life. I hope all of you know about Helen Keller. She is an American lady who lost her senses of vision, hearing and speech when she was 18 months old. But with the help of her teacher Anne Sullivan, she was able to overcome all these triple handicaps. Once a journalist went and said to her, "See, you are not able to see the world around you. You are not able to hear the sounds around you. You cannot speak. For me, you look like a dead corpse. Friends, if you and I were in that situation, we would have become totally upset. But you know what the answer Helen Keller gave? She replied, I can see the light of my mind. I can hear the voice of my heart. I am living as I am thinking. So imagine how much of determination she possessed to utter these words. So that determination we have to learn from her to get success in this world. Here I would like to explain to you what is real success in life. Generally, success is considered to be earning huge amount of money, obtaining a high position, becoming popular, or leading a luxurious life. They are all not real success. They may be symbols of success. Then what is real success in life? Really, a successful person is one who leads a life beneficial to others. To the minimum extent, he must lead a life of beneficiary to his family and to the whole world to the maximum level of extent. To quote again from Helen Keller, she says, life is exciting. Life is exciting to all. But life is more exciting to all those who live it for others. Friends, let me give you some of the tips to lead a successful life in our personal career. First of all, you must set a goal. Be specific in it. See, there is a difference between the fact that I want to buy a shirt and I want to buy a shirt of specific color, specific design, specific styles, and even from a specific shop. So be specific in your goal. Define your values. You must know for what you stand for. You must also know what you don't want. Then you set up your ambitions in line with your values. It's important that you set up your ambition and plan for the next 4 or 5 years. For example, if you want to find a job, you must do a research. What are all the skills that you need for that job, and what is the qualification that you have to develop for yourself, and what is the experience that you have to gain to obtain that job. You can divide your goal into smaller manageable steps and find out how to achieve each step. And you can also read the biographies of people who have already succeeded in the field of your aspiration. But remember that you can have control only on your actions, but not your circumstances. But it depends upon how you react and respond to your circumstances, and that will reflect your value. So long as your goals stay in the line of your value, you will likely to have a bright future. Know yourself or question yourself. This is important for self-monitoring yourself. This is important to watch your thoughts and action. This self-monitoring is very essential because it is easy to slip into things whatever others are doing or what others are telling that it is the right way of doing things. So leading a life without purpose will not lead us towards success. So self-monitoring will help us to lead a life towards our goal and to work on our purpose. You always be true to your heart, true to yourself. Being true to yourself will give you inner strength and inner peace. Cultivate the habit of healthy lifestyle. Health is the most important wealth for us. Healthy food, physical activity, a proper sleep cycle, and developing healthy habits and time to relax. All these healthy lifestyle will give us physical, psychological, and social benefits. Cultivate the habit of spending after saving. So, savings to the future will help you to lead a life without tension. My suggestion is you can engage in a part-time job while continuing your higher education. That will teach you the value of time and money and instill in you the self-discipline and self-responsibility. Time management is another skill that you have to learn to meet out the day-to-day challenges in life. Imagine that you are depositing 86,400 rupees in your bank account, and the condition is you have to spend all the amount within one day. At the end of the day, there will be no balance in your account. If this is the situation, imagine how you will be brisk, how you will be working with fast, and how actively you will be working to spend that money. Yes, every one of us have such an account in our hands, and that is time. Every one of us have rupees 86,400 seconds in our hands. But remember, we cannot save it or keep it for tomorrow. We cannot give it as loan to others, and we cannot borrow it from others also. So that is why it is said time is precious. Time management is nothing but how much priority you are giving to matters and things that you want to do. Friends, you have to be aware of the political and social issues that are happening around you, and you have to be cautious about good and bad. Apart from this personal development, remember that you have a social responsibility. Man is basically a social animal. So, giving back to the society, what we get from it is very important. You are all the leaders of tomorrow. You can use your leadership and innovation to create local awareness and to encourage positive social change all over the world. You can encourage pro-action in education and to meet out the challenge like climate change, disaster relief, and other challenges which are coming in our day-to-day life. So, the human society has proved that we have risen up from challenges then and there, and we have successfully built up our own future. Today, all the nations of the world have realized the need to coming together and joining together, and to share the common challenges among themselves. So they are aiming at creating a world based on equality. There has been a shift from international approach to global development. This foresighted approach is definitely will create a better atmosphere in the world, and we will definitely hope to have a better tomorrow. As George Nelson Wright has said, we can live for 3 weeks without food. We can live for 3 days without water. Yes, we can live for even 3 minutes without air. But we cannot live without hope. Hope translated into perfect action is the key for success in life. I wish you all the best for a bright future, and let us have the hope for the best in future. I would like to conclude my talk with the words of Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, who says, "When there is righteousness in your heart, there is beauty in your character. When there is beauty in your character, there is harmony at our home. When there is harmony at our home, there is an order at our nation. When there is an order at our nation, there is peace in the world." Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Radhabai, for blessing our ears with your timeless wisdom and giving us these valuable insights into the past. On those lines, we wish to take you on another walk down memory lane. So, in 2020, the infamous year which marked the start of the ongoing pandemic, our seniors conducted the first ever online TEDxYouth CIRS event and set an example for us on how to adapt to the ever-changing world. So, we present to you a recap compilation of last year's event.
In a world dominated by self-serving people, there are very few who devote their entire lives towards creating something unique.
Stop worrying about the outcomes. Stop obsessing over things that don't resonate with your true self.
We are all meaning-making machines. A narrative is told, what is in it for me? Immediately the brain connects to a meaning.
Everything starts with a thought, everything. Living, non-living, everything starts with a thought or imagination.
If everyone needs to recover from an illness and we know how to treat them, then why do so many continue to suffer?
Your parents will tell you, "Beta, be a good student." Your teacher will say, "Score well in geography, history and math and nothing is going to stop you." Those equations don't fall true anymore.
It was lying here all the time. It was your imagination. Because I never brought other cards.
I want you to be conscious. I want you to live every day not committing this mistake of falling trapped to this meaning-making drive.
We are always stuck in this loop, in this never-ending cycle of chasing things without consciously thinking.
Hope you enjoyed that. We are sure that these talks have inspired you to take action. Next up is Mr. Gaurav Jagwani, a songwriter who began exploring his creativity in his music through his songwriting. With over 600 songs written, he has dabbled in a variety of genres. Originally from Mumbai, the city of dreams, he began his career with the indie pop group The Yellow Pages. His style is exclusively acoustic, while touching upon genres such as folk, blues, psychedelic, and alternative. With his entertaining tunes, we are sure that he will inspire you to pursue your passion. So please welcome Mr. Gaurav Jagwani.
Before we start, I want to say a big thank you, because this is not only an honor and a privilege, but it's also a dream come true. So thank you for having me here. Nothing changes if nothing changes. Yes, nothing changes if nothing changes. We were always told when we were younger, much younger than today, that change is the changeless law of nature. Some of us are averse to change. Some embrace it and take it as a new beginning, a new chapter of sorts. But the bottom line is that change is inevitable, and we must learn to adapt to the changes all around us, be it on a personal level, a professional level, or even on a larger global level. For example, if there are two brands that are competing with a similar product. We were told when we studied economics at a younger age that the only thing that will differentiate these two brands is packaging. That's the only change that will differentiate them. And because you see a competition, the only way you can stand out is if you change something within. I'm going to tell you a story that hits straight home, literally. More than a decade back, my family decided to move houses, something we hadn't done for a couple of decades until then. It took a lot, and I do mean a lot of persuasion from my father's side to convince the rest of the family that this was a move, literally, in the right direction. My grandparents, who used to stay with us, were obviously reluctant for this change. They were in their late 80s and early 90s, and for them it was a massive inconvenience. But after much convincing, they agreed. Yes, they had frowned through the time that we were without a permanent address, but they believed that their son was making the right decision. Their routine was thrown off, and when you're at that age, I believe that routine is everything. They were averse to change, but eventually they embraced it, and we got embraced in the bargain too. My father always told me that if he were to give me a sum of money and give my grandfather a sum of money, my grandfather and me would have complete opposite ways of spending or utilizing the money. My father always told me that in all likelihood, my grandfather would keep the money locked up somewhere or invest it in a risk-free asset, even perhaps make a donation to charity or even just distribute amongst loved ones. And me, on the other hand, would take a more aggressive approach. I would invest it in something that would yield greater returns or spend it on what we call nowadays experiences. That is one thing that is a certainty. It is the youth that drives the economy, and it is the youth that is open to change, now so more than ever before. The last couple of years, we are going through probably the toughest challenge in our lives. We were all faced with probably the most challenging phase in our life, and till date has no expiry date. We are all living through a global pandemic running in its third year. Everything from our daily lives to our social lives were drastically affected by the pandemic. The world as we knew it shut down. Stock markets globally saw a fall that they never saw coming. We were all told by the commanders-in-chief to stay at home, avoiding venturing out. People lost their jobs, people lost their loved ones, and the world was divided with no face-to-face interaction. It felt the whole world had come to a standstill, but we had to adapt for our livelihood. People who were employed were encouraged to work from home and set up a digital space for their work. Children had to adapt to an online form of learning from their teachers and from the school in general. It was and still is a challenge, but we adapted, and it soon became the norm of what life would be. But then comes another problem. What happens when the coronavirus is no longer a threat? What would be considered the norm then? Would people be too used to working from home? Or would they venture out and adapt to the original norm? Questions have to be asked, and the natural human tendency is to ask questions. The norm for human psyche is to question when there is a change. Just like our grandparents, who were and are still averse to change, questions will be asked. But if the current situation taught us anything, it was a lesson in humility. It didn't matter what brand you wore or what car you drove. Everyone was and still is on the same platform. And the most common question, from where are you going for a holiday, has become, is everyone doing okay at your end? Compassion was seen in abundance. Never before were how are you questions actually getting non-generic answers such as I am fine, how are you? All of us who led relatively privileged lives were put in a place where we had to do the most humbling tasks, and we all did it with a smile because we were all together, because we all adapted. No one was higher or lower than anybody else. For the first time, there was a common enemy, and we were all on the same side. Now, as a musician, the lockdown was something all of us in the industry dreaded. The performance aspect of being a musician was completely stripped off of us. But there were opportunities seen even in this time, and that too in abundance. The digital space took off. Streaming platforms for songs released and social media to perform those songs was seen at crazy highs. It was a time that the digital space was thriving. I remember being asked to do an online show via Zoom early on in the first phase of the lockdown that India had. At first, I didn't know how to react because this was something I had never done, and this was something not many people had done. And forget that, there were not many people that would attend this in my head. So at first, I didn't know what to say or how to react. But this was a challenge, and I took it up as a challenge for myself and for a potential improvement in everything. To my surprise, the medium worked. And even though it was something that I expected, a lot was unexpected as well, in the best possible way. I expected there to be a lag between delivering a song and the audience reacting to it. But the intimacy of actually being able to see all your listeners who were there purely for you and your music has a happiness attached to it that was unparalleled. Needless to say, this wasn't the last time I did an online gig, and I made myself present on various social media platforms like never before. The numbers were encouraging, and I became pretty consistent at it. It would be considered fairly normal to accept what was going on around us and wait for gigging opportunities in the real world. But it was when I chose to do something different. It was when I changed my thinking and adapted that the fruits tasted sweeter. It is important to know that challenges are what keep us going, and there's no better challenge than changing what one considers to be the norm. Changes challenge us and shock us. It is what we need in a world when it is survival of the fittest. With advancements in technology, one must learn to stay grounded. Not all advancements happening around us would be accepted by everyone. It is important to ask questions, but it is even more important to stay balanced and open to changes. The field of cryogenics is one such topic. On one hand, people call it the future of preserving human life. On the other hand, people call it absolutely unethical. I firmly believe that one must learn to absorb all they can of each situation and then decide where one stands. We must not necessarily agree with the changing world, but it is important to hear that side too, instead of having a preconceived notion about it. It might change our mind to hear that side, or we might stand our ground. But like I said earlier, balance is the key. One thing that drastically changed through the lockdown for me was my health. I got closer to nature through the practice of yoga and eating clean foods. Sure, the world had become a convenient place and still is a convenient place where all your favorite foods can come in a package form. But in increasing some items' shelf life, we are kind of reducing our own life. Yes, we as species like things to be convenient and served to us on a literal platter, in this case, but we're going further away from nature where the energy is at its peak. The irony in all of this is that we consume these foods knowing that there will be some medicine to reverse the effects on it at some level or the other. That is how the advancements have worked through time. We know diabetes can be tackled by popping some pills. I will repeat it time and time again. Balance is the key, and it is during these dark times that we must search within for answers, as opposing to looking outwards. The rays of hope and all the silver linings are within us. If we change for our betterment, we will be able to face all the challenges tomorrow. And yes, there will be silver linings, but we must be open in our thinking and our vision to see them. Not all dark places stay dark. Not all dark nights turn to dark days. There's always a light at the end of the tunnel. Once we start believing in magic, miracles will happen. Doesn't matter how much the outside world changes. An open mind is what we should be carrying on our shoulders so that we can invite tomorrow. But the best change to adapt to these external changes should come from within. We should be able to write our tomorrow by making the changes in the present with guidance from the past. Life was a lot simpler in our grandparents' time, and they made things work for them. Nowadays, there are little things that work for us, but in the bargain, we have lost a little of our souls and have fallen prey to the future's conveniences. In the art of yoga, we are told to focus on our breaths. We are told to concentrate and things will work for us. Should we stick around and embrace the future with open arms? Maybe not. Should we look the other way? Maybe not. We must learn to adapt and strike a balance within everything. Acceptance is the key, and then we can tweak the happenings by adapting a fresh approach and an open mind to welcome the tomorrow. Some of us love the talks about the future, but when we tend to expect a lot from it. The vaccines for the coronavirus, for instance, we curse the industries that weren't able to roll out vaccines on time, saying things like they had one job. Which is why acceptance plays such a key role in our lives. And expectations are something we must learn to curb for some semblance of inner peace. Change comes from within, and through this change, we can adapt to the changes outside. When things are looking bleak, we must change our mindset and keep positive affirmations and reinforcements in our life. Expecting things to change for us doesn't work, or rather doesn't work at the pace that we want it to work at. Accepting things changes, and adapting to them works. Holding on to hope helps. I have always believed that all we have to live for in life and all we have to hold on to in life is hope. Being surrounded by positive energy and people helps. There's nothing better than being your authentic self. Authenticity will take you places you never thought were possible to reach. Sometimes when we are not liking something that has changed, we must change ourselves first. Our thinking must change instead of expecting others to do it, or for things to fall in place. If we don't like something and we don't change, nothing will change. In these times, we must fall back to our ancestral school of thought and learn to inhale acceptance and exhale expectations. And remember, life will throw many curveballs at us. Some we can hit, some will hit us. That's the master plan. We can appreciate the good and the ups only when we can see the bad and the downs. It's our comparison point in life. So yes, change is a changeless law of nature. So let's change ours first. And remember, nothing changes if nothing changes. Yes, nothing changes if nothing changes.
Thank you, Mr. Jagwani, for showing us that what makes life beautiful is in fact the ups in combination with the downs and the inevitable changes that follow. Next, for a small detour, we wish to show you the process behind creating Hues of Responsibility, a beautiful painting put together by the highly talented Khushi Sancheti. This art piece signifies the various roles played by women in today's society and how the blending of these duties sustains the well-being of the world.
Thank you so much for this beautiful artwork, Khushi. Now moving on. Inviting tomorrow would be incomplete without getting an insight about human impact on the natural environment. And our next speaker is going to do just that. In fact, much more. Mr. Keval Hiren Kakka is an engineering student
turned professional mountaineer. He has scaled 2 mountains above 8,000 meters, Mount Everest and Mount Lhotse, in a record 6 days, which earned him national recognition. He is a member of the professional trekking and camping firm Mountain Marks, which is based in Mumbai. He also has his own firm, Beyond Altitudes, through which he has arranged numerous camps, treks, and expeditions over the last 6 years. With the goal of promoting the sport of mountaineering and bringing the youth closer to nature for a better and greener tomorrow, please join me in welcoming Mr. Keval Hiren Kakka as one of our speakers today.
Out of the 7.9 billion population of the world, on an average, around 1,000 climbers every year try to scale the highest mountain of the world, that is Mount Everest. It is a very attracting and fascinating peak, very beautiful, extremely challenging, yes, of course. And at that altitude, when you're climbing, your body is exhausted and you're craving for oxygen. But what drives to climb such a majestic mountain, Is it just the height that attracts people or the journey? I would say in 2019, when I stood on top of the world, the moment I reached the top, I had a complete flashback of my journey. And that is when I realized that it is not about the time that I spend on the top, but the journey that led me to it was really important. And here today I share with you my journey to top of the world. Mountaineering has given me a lot. When I was in my young days, my parents, they asked me, how would you like to spend your vacation? And as any normal 90s kid would answer, I said, okay, I'd like to play video games, I'd like to, play badminton, play cricket with my friends and go out. They said, why not you go on a hike? This is for the first time that I heard the word hike. I said, okay, what exactly is this? So they said there is a trek in the Himalayan region and it will, take you to an altitude of 10,500 feet. And this pass, Chandrakhani Pass, is located there and it will be covered with full of snow. So would you like to experience this? I said, yeah, sure, why not? And they said, meanwhile you'll make new friends on the way. I was really excited and curious to see what lies there. And that is how my journey began into the Himalayas. And as they say, once you go, definitely you lose some part of you. And every year after year, you try to go again and again to search that part. My soul was left in the mountains long back, and every year I just went to find it. Year after year, maybe the region changed, the places changed, the height and the altitude that to be gained changed. But one thing that remained the same was the preparation and the learning. So definitely it was one of my most beautiful journey. And slowly I really started, liking the mountains to an extent where I became so passionate that I thought, okay, one day I wish to climb the highest mountain in the world. But we all know that era, very less information was available, say it online or through media, and not much people were talking about it. So this was a sport which was not evolved, but definitely there were lots of books and magazines available. So I started my research. Slowly and steadily I realized and I understood that mountaineering is a very vast subject that you can learn. It includes the geographical features, it includes your study of weather, it includes the study of different terrains, and that really made me excited and curious, to learn more and more. And as years passed, I did my mountaineering courses from Atal Bihari Vajpayee Institute of Mountaineering and Allied Sports located in Manali. After completing my basic mountaineering and advanced mountaineering courses, I started doing expeditions. Now, when you are doing an expedition, you face so many challenges. There are hundreds and thousands of reasons to turn around. The cold weathers, the temperature drops to sub-zero temperatures, barely your fingers can move. and there are lots of cold shivers, and your face and your muscles go numb, and very difficult situations, winds blowing so high. Sometimes the wind on a mountain top can go up to 80 to 100 kilometers per hour. Literally at times I realized that then when there were heavy winds and we were in our tent, we were so scared that what will happen next. If these winds last, they would blow us off the mountain. And those were the days where I learned to fight my fears. And then I slowly started my journey of patience and understanding. One fine such incident I would love to share. So we were climbing in Kashmir, and few of my friends, we were stuck in a snowstorm. So we were in a very small tent on a mountain, and there was nothing nearby, and it started snowing heavily, and we got stuck there for 3 days. We could not move out because there was a complete whiteout. We could not see our steps and the safest path down. So we had to wait there. And meanwhile, the snowfall started accumulating on our tents. So basically it forms a layer as the snow keeps on falling, and one after the other the layers keeps on forming. And every 1 hour or maybe so, we have to get out of our tent and remove the snow from a shovel so that we do not get buried, or else we will be buried to death. And at that time we understood what is self-motivation. So we had each other's back, and we said, okay, don't worry, everything will be fine, and this storm shall pass by, and definitely there will be a beautiful morning and we'll step down from the mountain with safety. So we had our patience. We waited there for 3 days, and we just went out to get ice to make water for our food, and to use the washroom, and to shovel the snow out. So this is all we did for 3 days, and barely we could sleep with the winds gusting and the snowstorm blowing our tents, etc. And so that is when I realized, that how important it was to stay calm and to find out a solution rather than panicking. So that really helped me in my day-to-day life to grow as a human being. These mountain lessons I'll never forget because I have experienced them. So that is why I say whatever I have learned, it's not just through the books, but through the lap of the nature. It has really taught me a way of life and to live. In the year 2018, when I was climbing in Ladakh, in the cold winters of Ladakh, I still remember we climbed Mount Stok Kangri, one of the toughest climb I would say. While descending, it was extremely cold, and the endeavor took us 22 hours. And due to the cold, even after wearing 2 layers of glove, I lost my thumb to frostbite. So the right tip of the thumb was lost. We have to amputate it because it was frozen, and 2 months of excruciating pain. I couldn't sleep at night, and there were so many negative thoughts that what am I doing? Is it the right thing? Why am I suffering so much? Is it really worth it? But I don't know what happened. Suddenly a question struck my mind that are you willing to give up? What if you are not able to step in the mountain tomorrow? Will it affect you? And that one thought was more painful than the actual pain. And then I decided that no matter what, but I'll not give up on mountaineering. I'll fight and I'll come back stronger. I started training harder, and so the pain, I got strength to bear the pain, and definitely a lesson that next time, to be extra cautious, and no matter what the situation is, still give your best. And this is one of the best lessons I would say that I have learned from the mountains. And year after year, I was really blessed, as if the mountains have, welcomed me with their open, widespread arms. And I was really lucky that I could scale 8,000 meter peaks, all in the first attempt, no repeats. For many mountaineers, it takes a lifetime to, attempt a mountain. Some took maybe 2 attempts, 3 attempts due to bad weather and so many adverse conditions. But I was really lucky enough to have got the best of the weathers and to be here alive to talk to you and share my experience. And the mountains have really been a major part of my life. So they have given me a lot, and now I wish to return it back to them. So, my day starts with the mountains and, my lifestyle. So I would say rather than that, choosing mountaineering as a sport, I have chosen it as my lifestyle. So I think about the mountains, I read about the mountains, I eat about the mountains. So definitely everything that I do is related to the mountains. That, what should be my diet here so that, when I'm in the mountains, I'll be comfortable to whatever I'm getting there. What all should I train for so that I am comfortable in the mountains? What all should I read about so that it gives me a useful knowledge to be, prepared and be practical in the mountains. So over these years, I was able to study and I was able to understand the mountains, and I was really blessed to be one of those to experience the most beautiful sunsets. We have seen the most beautiful sunrises, and the different types of wild animals present, the flora and fauna, sitting beside a river, watching the millions of stars in the night shining bright from the tent. Yes, definitely, it's a very beautiful and a breathtaking experience. And one thing that I'm gonna say, that the time that I spend on each of my expedition is written in golden words in my memory, and I'll never forget that. And I would like to say that mountains have made the best person out of me, and definitely more to come over the years. Now I look forward to is different kinds of challenging expeditions where I could break barriers and set up a new bar in the field of mountaineering. I was really blessed by the government of India as they presented me with the prestigious Tenzing Norgay National Adventure Award for my achievements in the field of mountaineering. And this award was presented to me by the Honorable President of India, Shri Ramnath Kovindji, on the National Sports Day. But the journey does not end here. Now it gives me more motivation, and it gives me a different mindset to look at things, that whatever the mountains have given me, now it's my turn to give them in return. So whenever I am hiking or whenever I am in the mountains, I make sure that I try to bring as much as waste possible. So the plastic waste that lies on the mountain, it is really difficult to take it off or clean it. So I organize clean-up camps to clean the mountains and in return help them heal. And now more than, I would say, just the nature, it has become my friend, and I really understand the pain that it is going to, and I really appeal to the youth through this platform that definitely they should lend a helping hand to help save our nature for a clean tomorrow, a green tomorrow. And we all know that life has been, after lockdown, really hard and harsh. So many conditions have been affected, the air is getting polluted and lots of things, So it is us who have to come together and to help our world heal in a better way. There are glaciers melting, there is global warming at an alarming rate, and we read it every day in the newspapers. So many changes happening in day-to-day life, and various factors, there is so much factors responsible for the growth of this, but everything is in our hands. So every bit that we can contribute to save our environment really means a lot. So it is, I try to come across different types of ways to help and to bring people together to save our environment. And hopefully there will be some day that we will have mountains which are again flourished and they are really to the max of their beauty. And I wish that we all explore the adventure side of us, and it may not be just a mountain. Everybody has their own Everest or their own mountain to climb. You may be an engineer, you may be a doctor, you have your own mountains to climb. But through these values that I learned from the mountain, that is patience, hard work, discipline, and never giving up attitude. If you follow all these, definitely you will stand on the top someday. If not today, then tomorrow. Things will take place and things will happen. But all you need to is keep calm and keep working hard. So stay focused, stay healthy, and wish you all the luck for all your Everest in future.
Thank you, Mr. Kaka, for inspiring us to set goals and use them to propel forward while becoming better versions of ourselves. We hope you are having a splendid time with us so far. They say, a picture is worth 1,000 words. So here's presenting to you a time-lapse record of the wonderful artistry done by Priyal Saraf from grade 11. During these difficult times, having an online event has really made us miss CIRS. Here's presenting a little something to remind us of our home away from home.
I've been gone for way too long, but I'm coming home. I'm coming home. Like a million nights alone, but I'm coming home. I'm coming home. I am sorry that I hurt you, and for the mess I left behind. I've been gone for way too long, but I'm coming home. I'm coming home. I'm coming home. I'm coming home.
Thank you very much, Priyal, for the contribution of your generous time and effort into drawing this beautiful picture. One of the many things that we hope for the future is that the youth strive to become the greatest versions of themselves in order to contribute to a better tomorrow. It may seem too good to be true, but thanks to digital scholars all around the world, it's a reality in the making. This next speaker co-founded India's first agency-style digital marketing institute, Digital Scholar, with the goal of providing the young minds of India with an experience of an evolved education system. His institution has helped improve people's lives by equipping them with the tools necessary to obtain all kinds of knowledge. He, at the mere age of 24, is rethinking education and impacting the lives of a huge number of people. On that note, here to blow our minds is Mr. Rishi Jain. Please join me in welcoming him.
Drones dropping off Amazon packages at your front door. Robots coming and taking your orders and serving you with digital menus at restaurants and serving you the food. Algorithms buying and selling stocks and approving loans for you. Driverless cars and trucks taking you and your goods to their destinations. Feeding an application with just 3 or 4 words. An entire creative can be done with copies and hashtags, and with the entire funnel in less than 5 seconds. You can build an application like Facebook or Tinder without knowing how to code. These are no longer ideas for the future. They're just some of the ways automation is impacting the workforce today, and more developments are expected tomorrow. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Rishi Jain, co-founder of Digital Scholar, and welcome to the new digital economy. And while it may be inevitable and it's happening at a rapid pace, we need to rethink our approach to work, job training, marketing, and pretty much every aspect of our life. If we act now, we may be able to make the transition smooth. If not, it's going to be too late. In this particular TED Talk, I'm going to tell you how jobs are at stake, what we need to do in order to save our jobs, and finally, some updates in the field of marketing industry when it comes to automation. Now, due to COVID and its multiple variants, the world has already shifted from an industrial economy to a digital one. At the heart of this change is a new business model built around automated robots and artificial intelligence. And we are already starting to see it emerge, especially around blue-collar jobs. Let's take some examples. Each petrol bunk usually employs an average of 3 workers who help in the fueling process to the end customer. Imagine what happens when electronic vehicle starts coming in. We won't be needing their services. Now multiply an average of 3 with all the petrol bunks in the country. These many people are at the verge of losing jobs, and they have no other skill set for them to get employed anywhere else. Imagine what happens to ATM security guards when digital transaction becomes the new normal. In 2020, there were over 210,000 automatic machines across India, and let's say 50% of these ATMs have a security guard. At least 100,000 people, mostly male, who feed their families are at risk of losing the jobs when the ATMs shut. Malls employ very few customer support staff as people are upgrading to different experiences. They go to the malls to check out the product, which is usually handled by one person, and then they place the order within that outlet, and the order is delivered to them the next day. An increasing number of retail stores are replacing cashiers with self-checkout options that are getting more advanced. According to Tesla CEO Elon Musk, artificial intelligence poses one of the greatest risks to civilization and can certainly be a cause of great disruption to the job market. What really makes AI competitive is machine learning. This is the ability to make a decision based on a certain set of factors and then use the results of that decision to inform future choices. This process results in continuous improvement, and it is what allows AI to now be a viable replacement for all sorts of jobs that were once strictly human occupations like driving vehicles or making financial investments, and it makes it super deadly as the machines get smarter and smarter. Indeed, while AI is likely found on your mobile devices or at home, whether it's Apple Siri or Amazon's Alexa, it is also currently making decisions about a lot of important everyday things, including finances, defense systems, marketing, and public safety. So the only question is, if the tech is getting so advanced, what do we do? How do we protect our jobs and businesses? We need to learn to adapt and diversify. Let's take an example from the marketing industry. There are a lot of content writers in the world from different spaces like journalism, technical IT background, research based, scientific based, content writers that write for websites. Now, automation has already been quietly taking over in the content writing industry, particularly in the field of journalism. Believe it or not, there's a good chance you've already been reading newspaper articles written by robots. Traditional news sources like the Washington Post and the USA Today, as well as online news sources like Yahoo, have already begun publishing automated content. Now, what do content writers do in this case? Can they really beat a tool that is super intelligent, which can generate 4,000 words article fully automated in a fraction of few seconds? And these articles are non-plagiarized, well-researched, and structured human-like texts. Maybe not. We cannot be faster than these tools. But all you can do is diversify your skills. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. If you rely too heavily on one skill to run your career, you're at a risk of becoming obsolete when that skill becomes outdated and automated. Diversifying will help protect you from such a fate. And here's such a great opportunity to live with technology and not against it. A lot of agencies and advertising companies demand skilled labor for operating tools like this. So instead of being a content writer, you become a technically skilled operator who can handle tools that create content that demands and meets the need of the organization. Not just that, these AI tools open a world of opportunity in itself for a lot more people. You can start your own content agency and produce well-defined articles with the help of these tools. I've seen many people become freelancers and list themselves in the top freelancing networks of the world and work for others for creating content and make anywhere between 1 rupee to 3 rupees per word. Now imagine the amount of money that can be made when you have a powerful machine alongside you. You can only think of scaling up and saving more of your time so that you can truly live that freedom lifestyle. Diversifying your skills is key. Let's take another example of marketing automation. People are scraping the data from the internet and sending cold emails with personalized images and videos at scale, and all of these at a fraction of clicks and seconds. You can literally get a lot of data like phone numbers and email IDs of top decision makers of startups and hunt for a job or business by cold emailing them. Now, earlier, there used to be several people involved in this whole process. One who used to hunt for the data from yellow pages, from buying databases, contacting, networking, and so on. Second, a person who used to create copies for the cold email. And finally, an email marketing expert to handle the complexities. But today, with the help of one tool and one person, you can automate the entire journey at scale and replace the work of 3 people. That's the power of AI. But does this process make those 2 other people go out of work? They can always adapt and innovate in terms of bringing creativity to the whole process for soliciting a response or a reply from the prospect. The bottom line is, these tools and tech will become adequate and sweep deep into our lives, we only need to learn to adapt and diversify. And how do we do that? If artificial intelligence and machine learning algorithms can wisely use large amounts of big data, it will help individuals and businesses perform better. It will also increase the employee retention rate and help in new customer acquisition. This will create new job opportunities as companies begin to scale up and grow and benefit the industry as a whole. A recent World Economic Forum report estimated that nearly 50% of the full-time workforce of companies will shrink over the next few years. Although AI will eliminate jobs, it will create a demand for new job positions. For AI to function properly, humans will be needed to check work, improve it, and manage it. The WEF indicated that the new positions will require additional skills for managing the interface between technology and humans. Here's an amazing example of one of the top companies which created software for recruiting the right people in half the time by developing smart databases. This company uses AI to develop insights that can help other businesses in recruiting the right sales team for their business. It's the right time for the organization and individuals to get more excited about getting your company tuned with internet bots and physical robots. The emerging organizations and individuals must wholeheartedly accept the changes for better workspaces. It will only help them better determine their strengths and weaknesses to get ready to adopt the AI revolution. These AI services can easily integrate with your existing system and help you get better with processes. Here's how you can identify whether your job will be automated or not and how you can come up with a strategy to tackle it. Step 1. Identify the top 3 skills that you're getting paid for. Is it sending emails? Is it filling an Excel sheet? Is it creating PowerPoint presentation for the important meeting? Is it designing? Identify the top 3 skills now. Step 2. Research on the advancements happening in your field by researching on Product Hunt and new emerging tech sites. If you feel there are profound technology and SaaS, which is software as a service, that has a potential impact on taking over your jobs in the coming years, start noting them down and start testing them. Step 4. See if you can integrate these tools in your existing workflow. This will not only eliminate your job, but this will make you 100x better and you will be able to produce a lot more work at a fraction of the time. Step 5. With the saved time, start delving into skills that correspond to your existing skill sets and start mastering them. You will see that you will become an indispensable part of your organization and you will make a lot more money and save a lot more time. Let's understand the principles shared by Yuval Noah Harari in the book 21 Lessons for the 21st Century. The most successful people excel at 4 C's: critical thinking, communication, collaboration, and creativity. Instead of mugging up the data, which we usually do in our schools and colleges, people need the ability to make sense of the information, to tell the difference between what is important and what is not, and above all, to combine many bits of information into a broad picture of the world. In fact, schools and colleges should switch to teaching the 4 C's, which is critical thinking, communication, collaboration, and creativity. More broadly, schools and colleges should downplay technical skills and emphasize on general purpose life skills, because most important of all will be the ability to deal with change, to learn new things, and to preserve your mental balance in unfamiliar situations. Again, learning how to learn, resilience, and adaptability are going to be the top skills that will become handy for you in the fast evolving world. As Naval Ravikant says, automation over a long period of time will eventually replace every non-creative job or every non-creative work in the world. And that is a great news for all of us, because that takes care of every basic needs, and what remains is everyone to be creative, and that's what every human being wants. We must remember that we have the power to control how automated technologies will affect our lives. We cannot let fear keep us from progressing as a species. Let's focus on creating peaceful and sustainable lives for ourselves and for our families. We can start by being proactive about learning new skills and preparing for the future where tech plays an even bigger role in our lives. Let's work together to find peaceful solutions that allow us to benefit from the amazing advances in technology. Because, after all, we are human beings. We have created these technologies and we are undoubtedly the smartest creatures in the universe. And all we have to do is look within, find that calling, be more creative and curious, and just try to be who we really are. That is, being smart. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for that informational talk, Mr. Jain. I'm sure many of us got a better insight into the digital world. Coming to the end of our show, our final speaker is an inspiration to every girl and woman watching our event today. This individual became one of the youngest female pilots to fly a Boeing 777 in the year 2013. During the infant stages of the COVID crisis, she was picked to co-pilot the Vande Bharat mission's repatriation aircraft in May 2020. In 2021, she led an all-women's crew on the inaugural trip from San Francisco to Bengaluru, one of the world's longest non-stop aviation routes. To add on, later on that year, she was invited by the United Nations to represent generation equality. She is one of our country's most credited pilots and is creating history while the world and nation look on in wonder. With that, it is an honor to introduce Captain Zoya Agarwal.
Hello, my name is Captain Zoya, and I am a commander on the Boeing 777 with our national flag carrier, Air India, our Dhwaj Wahak. With a lot of pride, I carry our Indian flag across the world. So today I'm here to share the power of an idea. So let's get started. I have a question for you. How many of you would like to be in this splendid uniform that I'm wearing today? The idea of being a pilot is fascinating, isn't it? And to what extent will you be willing to go to make your dreams come true? I recall having such a dream too, to fly high in the mighty blue sky and touch those shining stars. Following one's dreams isn't easy. It has never been. It can be both terrifying and exciting. There are times in life when giving up seems like the more, viable, easier option. Often people end up either not pursuing their dream at all or switch to a more conventional path that helps them get support from their family and society. However, there is that burning desire to fulfill your dreams, which guides you onto the right path. Truth be told, there are never always a smooth path to following your dreams. It's always an uncountable number of roadblocks encountering while in the pursuit. It isn't all rainbows and sunshine. There's quite a bit of rainfall, or rather waterfall, along the way, which may just deter you from your goal. But hold on, there is a solution. Despite that, it takes all the strength in oneself to gather the courage to pursue your dreams with all that you have. It is that incessant tug of willpower that makes you burn the midnight oil in order to live that life which you so ambitiously dreamt for yourself. Many a time, people are afraid to dream. They end up being bogged down by self-doubt, thoughts of uncertainty, etc. It's natural. However, it is that courage from inside, that dauntlessness that sparks the dream that only a few can imagine achieving. This determination makes you take up each struggle and adversity of life as a challenge to overcome with genuine efforts. Dreaming big gives you that sense of accomplishment that refurnishes your belief in yourself and your willpower to do whatever you are determined to do. It makes you propel yourself forward, never agreeing to settle for less. Why should you, right? World's your oyster, and so be it. Putting in consistent efforts to attain your goals gives your life a sense of direction and purpose. You're only ever limited by the boundaries that you set for yourself. Once you find the motivation to overcome your inhibitions, you can work towards the life of your dreams. Very seldom does it happen that something will be served to you on a silver platter. More often than not, you have to put in your sweat and strength and everything that it takes for you to be able to ultimately reach where you want to be. And trust me, the feeling of knowing that your hard work has paid off is priceless. It is that moment that you finally realize the power of dreaming big. Because what is life if not a realization of what you could achieve with all the potential that you harbor in yourself? Because the only other option really is to reminisce back 20 years, to look at the other people who have achieved their dreams and wonder, maybe if I had mustered up a little bit more courage back then to do what I really wanted to do, I could be living my dream today. Do you want to be this category or the one who goes chasing after their dream? Jerry Seinfeld once said, and I quote, "Sometimes the road less traveled is less traveled for a reason." The society that we live in has its own conventional ways of doing everything. And it is not very often that someone decides to go out of these lines. The reason is quite simple. It requires going against the mindset and the preconceived notions which have firmly set foot in the minds of those that we live around. For instance, pursuing a non-engineering, non-medical career is not looked upon very approvingly in our conventional society, right? There's always a sense of insecurity associated with having an unconventional career and pursuing the lesser taken road like the one I am pursuing in my day-to-day life every single day, right? To fly airplanes. I mean, who could have thought that girls can fly airplanes? When I say this, I am completely speaking my heart out from my personal experience. That the support from your parents is an indispensable asset in your journey towards your success. I'm incredibly grateful that I was fortunate enough to garner that invaluable support from them. And it has indeed helped me scale the heights that I dreamt of achieving. This makes it essential to try to make them understand and believe your motivation, where you're coming from, and put them in the same journey, make them a part to follow your dreams. As it stands, my journey to where I am today hasn't been a cakewalk at all. It involved a lot of breaking the norms, a lot of tears, shattered hopes. I had phases when I experienced self-doubt, times when I thought, what if I was doing, was it actually worth it, or whether I'm going to fail? I had those doubts too. There were questions on my mind. Will I be able to make it to the path of my dreams and get there eventually? What if I don't? Will my parents support me even though I'm sacrificing everything and working twice as hard? Nevertheless, that inner voice inside of me made me really strong and kept me going amidst all the circumstances. When hopes were losing out in one direction, I was determined to lay the foundation for another direction, which demanded hard work and sweat. I was in college when I decided to pursue an aviation career. I used up my savings over 3 years. My entire life savings till then just disappeared in 3 years of aviation studies to enroll. Eventually, my parents believed in me and took loans to finance my aviation studies. I had a plan chalked out for myself. And that support of my parents gave me the wings I really needed to move forward, fly upwards, and achieve the heights that I had dreamt of. God's grace, I joined Air India after a lot of struggle and became the youngest woman commander to fly the Boeing 777 in 2013. Let me take you back to when this journey started. As a young girl, since I was 8 years old, I had always dreamt of touching the stars while stargazing on the terrace. My journey with aviation has given me the opportunity to touch the pole star, owing to the flight from San Francisco to Bengaluru, which was, of course, as you all know, flown over the North Pole, which lasted almost 18 hours, one of the longest commercial flights ever, and the longest commercial flight by an Indian carrier and Air India. I fondly recall the very first time I was in the flight deck or the cockpit. This flight departed from Delhi for Dubai, my first ever flight as a first officer. That whole flashback was right in front of my eyes. That moment gave me goosebumps, and it was like my entire journey came rushing to my head all at once. All these years of hopeful stargazing, every single moment of sweat and blood, my struggle, my bold decision of breaking the norms, and my mother's tears, it was all in front of my eyes and back of my mind. And that's when I realized that this moment, my dream, which was coming true, was absolutely worth every single sacrifice and drop of sweat that I had shed for this dream of mine. The satisfaction of knowing that all my hard work and belief in myself had so gracefully fallen into place, all thanks to the Almighty, led to this powerful moment. And that was unmatched. I felt the gratefulness to myself, my parents, the Almighty, for having given me all the support and strength that I needed to fully realize my potential. Standing there, ready to take charge, I could feel the reward of my efforts finally pouring in. Because when you actually dare and gather enough courage to follow your heart, it does eventually lead to rainbows and sunshine. Touching the stars was the dream which got me into this resplendent uniform in front of all of you today. To be able to inspire, motivate, encourage you to dream and work tirelessly towards making those dreams come true. Touching the stars was the dream that got me into this resplendent, beautiful uniform that you see me in today. To be able to inspire, motivate, and encourage all of you to dream. And of course, work tirelessly towards making those dreams come true. I have yet another question for you today. After reliving my journey through my words, how many of you will be fulfilling your dreams and putting this cap on? Thank you very much for listening to me. I hope I'm able to guide you and direct you in a direction where I will be flying with you after a few years on a beautiful Boeing 777 as my first officer. See you then.
Everything good and everything sweet must come to an end and finish off neat. And that, everyone, is the end of our event. It has truly been an educational and inspirational ride, and we are more than delighted you could experience it with us. We hope that our show and its esteemed panel of speakers have managed to open your eyes to new perspectives and be able to see what's best for our societies tomorrow.
Our event had gone through some very difficult and trying situations due to the pandemic, but we managed to push through it all and hopefully come out with a better and more learned version of ourselves. Of course, it goes without saying that we have the entire management and team to thank for this wonderful event.
First, we would like to thank the management, Swami Anukulanandaji, our residential director, Madam Shanti Krishnamurthy, Director of Academics and Administration, and Madam Rajeshwari, our principal. Thank you so much for giving this wonderful opportunity to put up this event.
Next, we want to offer our gratitude to Mr. Ganesh Ishwaran, our TEDx organizer, and Madam Divya Murugesan, our co-organizer. This program was successful due to their continuous guidance and support. We want to also thank Mr. Arun Muralidharan, our technical supervisor, who made sure every aspect of our event ran smoothly.
Of course, our show would have been incomplete if it were not for our esteemed panel of speakers, Mr. Paul Kunil, Miss Mangalam Senthil, Dr. Radhabai Krishnamurthy, Mr. Gaurav Jagwani, Mr. Keval Hiren Kaka, Mr. Rishi Jain, and Captain Zoya Agarwal. Thank you, speakers, for making this event worth listening to.
A sincere vote of gratitude to all of our performers, who was simply a joy to watch. They definitely made our event more colorful and bright. And finally, a heartfelt thank you to the entire student team behind this program. Your tireless effort and contribution made this event a success.
On that note, esteemed dignitaries, respected speakers, and our very dear audience, it was an honor to be able to put up this show for you all, to be part of such an amazing team, and most importantly, to be given the opportunity to voice opinions and try and make a change in the world for the better. Thank you everyone once again for joining us today and making our event a memorable one.